I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Texarkana County, Arkansas Board of Directors to order. At this time, we'll have a roll call.
Director Brewer,
Here.
Director Jewell.
Here.
I don't know why this went that way. Director Smith,
Here.
Director Roberts,
Here.
Assistant Mayor Harris,
Here.
Director Hollerbush,
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. A couple of housekeeping items before we get to our invocation and our pledge. One is Director Harris will be pulling item number 4, 5, and 7 off of the consent agenda. The second thing is for board purposes and for the audience's purposes, we have, and I have someone that's going to speak on it, we have one item on our regular agenda, which is item number 10. That item number 10 will automatically be read tonight on its second reading in title form. Then we would entertain a motion to have that read on its third and final reading tonight. But it will be read on its second reading tonight in title form. All right? Having said that, we'll stand for our invocation, which will be given by Director Hollybush. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our Fire Chief, David Fletcher.
Go bow your heads. Lord, thank you for this wonderful day that you blessed us with. God, thank you for seeing us through the storms over the weekend. Lord, we pray that you would be with us as we conduct city business. God, just lead us and guide us and let your will be done in all things. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Chief.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Also, we would ask, if you have your cell phones, we would ask you to please silence those cell phones during the course of our meeting. At this time, we'll move right on into our citizens' communication time. First tonight to address the board will be our Director, Terry Roberts, on Emergency Alert System.
Before I get into that, I want to thank Tyler and the street department for the work in Lakewood today. It was much, much needed and much, much appreciated. I am speaking as a citizen tonight and as the voice of the citizens of Ward 1. I have had dozens of phone calls over the weekend. I was out in the storm that we had that hit that area, that some say it was a tornado, some say it wasn't, many seen the cloud. So that's I guess up for discussion there. But we have really some issues. The past week, we had extreme damage from a drastic weather event. We had numerous high water calls, dozens of large trees were down, many still remain down that have got to be cut. We've had down poles, electrical lines. We had several rescues that had to be made, citizens that were trapped in their homes. And again, I would like to thank you and the street department for your quick response. REA and SWEPCO did all that they could possibly do to restore electricity. Chief Chataway, Chief Fletcher, the Miller County Sheriff's Department that assisted. The Office of Emergency Management, Pafford Medical Service, they deployed their entire support fleet to assist with the emergency operations. But a very, very special thank you to the Trinity Volunteer Fire Department. Their selfless acts of heroism and determination to help our community went above and beyond. And these were unpaid people who immediately went into action, and their talents help our community daily. Cornerstone Baptist Church just turned over their gym to us. They cooked meals, anything that they could possibly do, the community came together. Now, that being said, we were truly blessed that no one was injured and no deaths occurred. But this, what I'm saying tonight, started in November of 2021 with my very first community meeting at Cornerstone Baptist Church. This was a topic of conversation, if you remember, that was brought up many, many times, and dozens of phone calls, 37 emails. Emergencies, Irene, still don't work. Code Red had tens of thousands of people signed up that relied on that. When your power's out, TV can't help you. And it was replaced with HyperReach. Well, that was a total failure over the weekend. These people had no warning. We had another tornado in my ward that was on the other side of 82 out by Lakewood. Nothing. Nobody received any notification, nothing. And these people, we told them, sign up for this. You know, you'll be informed. You'll get flash flood alerts. You'll get tornado watches. Nothing. These people received nothing. You know, a 2-minute notice can save a life, yet our emergency services remain silent. And that's sad, very sad. In 3+ years, that is more than enough time that we should have been fully operational with our system. When I was a kid growing up, every Wednesday at noon, they were tested. I cannot tell you the last time I heard a tornado siren go off. I mean, and most of mine don't even have the guts in them. I mean, they're gone. So they couldn't work. I mean, unless I stood on the top and crowed. I mean, that's about the only way it's going to work. And who is responsible for HyperReach? Because if it was tested, nobody knows about it. That is a problem that I have. And no one knew, most of the citizens out here, I'm sure, do not know about HyperReach, that it was replaced Code Red. Some people were lucky enough to see it on Facebook. We did not we as a city failed our citizens this weekend. And I mean, this is going to be a topic of conversation at every board meeting until our emergency service systems are 100% working. I mean, this should not be a Ward 1 issue. It doesn't work in Ward 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Each one of you need to get on board and get this system working for your ward and your citizens, because next time this event could be in your ward. And it's a shame that we have to keep kicking this can down the road. I don't care what the money costs. You cannot put a price tag on citizens' lives. So we've got, the buck has to stop somewhere, and we need to start tonight. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. I did good on my 5 minutes.
Tim?
My name is Tim Johnson, 1520 Pecan Street, Texarkana, Arkansas. So I'm sure many of you know me. I'm coming to speak to you tonight with regard to short-term rentals and to ask you to please pump the brakes on what we're doing at this point. I'm not saying that it doesn't need to be addressed. It does. There needs to be some regulations and guidelines. But as with any of the things that we have on the books in the city, different ordinances, what's important is whether or not they're enforced. I have called numerous times about derelict properties, problems with roads. So it's not just short-term rentals that are causing an issue. I've had mine for 3 years. I have 2 units. There's a limit to the number of people that can rent, that can stay there. I have no parties at all. They have parking. Some of it is on-street, some of it is off-street. When I bought my house, there was no parking in the rear. I've had to put that in myself. So for a long time, there was just street parking for me. I urge you to be cautious about proceeding to some of these ideas that are being bannered about and how to address this issue. If it's going to apply to short-term rentals, is it going to apply to other businesses of the same type? I want you to know that I overheard a comment about taxes not being paid. I'm up to date on all of my taxes, every one of them. State tourism, county, city, A&P. I know we have a couple of members on the board that sit on the A&P commission, and I know that you can tell me for certain this is true. There are a number of businesses in the city that haven't paid A&P tax for years. I've paid mine from day one. So please just give some consideration to this. My understanding of the issue could have been handled by just calling the police. There's a loud party next door. People are blocking the drive. People are blocking the street. That's what they're there for, and they take care of that. And at one point, I had a monthly tenant that was next door to a short-term rental. She complained about some kids being out in the street in the middle of the night. I told her, you call the police. I have no authority over these people, but the police can do something about it. And if that's your issue, if it's because someone has taken a house and put 20 beds in it, and you've got numerous cars in and out, parties going on or whatever, you do the same thing that I would do if my next door neighbor was having a raucous party. I would call the police. We need you to come and check this out. Again, I just ask that you pump the brakes in a little bit. Let's not be too quick to pass this all the way. I think that there are ways that this can be addressed. I'm not saying that it doesn't need to be, but I ask you to take a little time before we go into something that is so oppressive in the manner that it's being presented. We can do something about it. Let's just take our time doing that.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Are you going to be speaking during, when we bring the item up?
I'm
for
sorry, what?
discussion? Are you going to be speaking or when we bring the item up for
No, sir.
discussion? What's your objection to the ordinance as we're,
I've not read the entire ordinance. I came across it on Texarkana Gazette. I don't subscribe. I'm not going to pay $300 a year for something I can get online. And the snips of information. I understand that there was a young lady that spoke on behalf of her parents, and all I know is what the paper printed. My concern is the issue that they had could be addressed by calling the police, number one, and they can control that situation. If it's an issue with the number of people being there, then that's something that the board could address. There's not many homes in town that would occupy 20 people in a family staying there. It'd be an issue. So let's look at it from that direction other than just a blanket proclamation or ordinance or whatever to deal with it.
so you really don't have any specific objections?
I can't give you anything specific. I'll tell you this. I pay my taxes. I pay more taxes than I can name about 3 businesses right off the top of my head that have not paid their A&P tax in over 10 years.
Right.
You know, you've got folks up here. We have an attorney that sits on the board, on the commission to handle that. Nothing's done yet. But I pay mine. So when you question what I'm up here talking about, my concern is that you not make it onerous on me to be able to continue my cottage business. It's nothing big, but I follow all the rules that the city has for me. And as I told you, I'm up to date on all my taxes. I have off-site parking. I manage my property myself. So if there's going to be an issue with just one, not make it everybody's problem. Deal with the issue that you have, not with me. I'm not doing anything wrong. Thank you.
I have a question for you,
Yes,
sir. How do you advertise your available parking spots for each location?
The platform that I use is called Evolve, and they advertise through, since my property is listed with Evolve, they do the management for me, and they advertise and they collect the fees and remit the taxes. So
How do
they
you
could,
determine how many parking spots are allowed per?
they've never told me anything like that.
They've never restricted you to certain,
sorry?
you've never been restricted to a
No.
certain number of spots per?
No.
Okay.
As I said earlier, it was all street parking, and it's only been recently that I had covered parking from the alley for this rental before I had it for myself. And one of my units is 2 bedrooms. I've told you can't have more than 5 people there. I have another that is 1 bedroom that will be 2 people limited. So you can put limits on what's to be done. I'm being responsible in doing that, and I don't want other rules imposed upon me that's going to make it difficult for me to continue to do business over one issue. My understanding is you've not had any complaints ever on any of these until recently. Is that correct?
I have.
Okay. Any other questions?
That interests me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, I'll make sure you get a copy of that ordinance so you can go through it
Okay.
and see what specific issues you might have with it. We're going to do the second reading tonight, and there'll be more discussion at that time. There may be a third, and it may come up for a vote, but it will probably be the second reading, have some discussion, and we'll continue to weigh the issue, and we'll have a third reading in a couple weeks.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you speaking with me this afternoon, Director Hollibush. I tried to call some of the other directors, Mousetrap, and leave messages, so I've tried to talk to folks beforehand on this. I just urge you to just take it a little easy. It doesn't have to be done tonight.
Thank you.
Linda Robertson?
Well, the first thing I want to say is I don't have, a carte blanche. I'm not against short-term rentals. I think that there's a place for them, and I don't mind them being in any neighborhood where it is monitored and regulated, just like it is in numerous cities in Arkansas. I've done a lot of research and a lot of soul searching in relation to this because I live in a neighborhood where we have a restrictive covenant and we are having someone put in an Airbnb at the end of our neighborhood. And we're going to have to bring legal action because that's in our covenant. The person that bought the house bought it knowing that there are no short-term rentals allowed in our neighborhood. And he had staged it, and it will be for rent soon. And if we did have a short-term ordinance, our attorney has told me that it would be so helpful to us in enforcing our covenant. I'm not your enemy. This whole thing upsets me because I don't want to be seen as the enemy. I want to be seen as a citizen who cares about Texarkana, Arkansas, everybody that's here. And I know y'all can tell I'm noticeably shaking because I'm pretty upset about it. I don't know how to communicate this in a way that conveys my feelings without being emotional, being reasonable and logical. I wrote something. Maybe that's what I need to do is get back to that. I don't think it's a big deal. The ordinance y'all have, I think, is really a nice ordinance. I don't think it imposes too many restrictions on anybody. I think it helps us know what's in our city. When you have people coming in and out of your neighborhood, and we're a small neighborhood, if I had children, I'd be concerned if there were 20 people next to me overnight. If I was the fire department or the police department, I'd want to know where an Airbnb was if I had to go there. Don't you want your fire department to know? Don't you want your citizens protected? When you go through, I've rented an Airbnb before. Again, I'm not opposed to them. I think this can be done. I don't think what Jamie has put together is unreasonable, and I think the city has an obligation to do it. There was some concern last month about House Bill 1790. That did not pass. They pulled it from the floor today. It probably won't be passed this time because they're only going to be in session for one more week. And so therefore there won't be a way to continue it.
Miss Linda, with you bringing that up, you know, it passed out of the House by a committee by one vote. And the municipal league, mayors of the larger cities all got behind, you know, they did not want this because it was pushed by Verbo and Airbnb. And when it went back to committee with revisions, it was defeated 9-2. So if, you know, they want cities to create their own legislation.
They do.
And I mean, this is not something that the state representatives, I think it was presented to them as something that was good, and it is not. We need to govern our own cities and not have the state govern us.
Well, that was my understanding of the reason there was the pushback.
Correct.
Is that the local Fayetteville, Little Rock, all the major cities in Arkansas who have these ordinances already in place wanted to police their own, and each city is different. Hot Springs is much different than Fayetteville. The only thing that's in that House bill that's contrary to what Jamie has is the cap on the number of Airbnbs, and that is why they're pushing so hard. That's why they won't pass it, is what I've been told by various people that are a part of this, because they feel like each city has the right to cap it. Fayetteville has a real problem with it because they have a housing shortage, and this has caused a problem for them. But back to a few other things. I live on Pine Grove Place, and I'll give you these. These are your regulations as to what qualifies to be zoned as R2. My house is R2. And the single-family dwelling is what can go in a R2 residence. You don't have, I mean, an Airbnb by definition does not, it's not a single-family dwelling. Look at the definitions that are passed down to you. You have to have some way to zone these. Right now, there shouldn't even be one in Miss Coker's neighborhood. I'm sure she's R2. I don't want to take more time than I'm allotted, but I am asking that you adopt the proposed short-term rental ordinance as a beginning, so that we can start somewhere before it gets to where we have too many, or so many that you can't enforce. And there's many things that can't be enforced. I agree with whoever was saying, you know, we had a landfill that came in down the street from us recently. You know what we did? We called as residents. We did just like you suggested. We called. We got together. We called Terry. Terry talked to the city personnel. Somebody met with him and said, you can't do that or you're going to be fined. And he quit. When people do fireworks, we call. Noise, we call. Yes, the police should be involved. None of us should be going into anybody's residence. And I'm not even proposing that you go into a residence and say, how many people are here? We can't do that. I'm not saying do that. Nobody's asking for that. We're saying just have some regulations. Right now, your zoning does not even have a zoning for Airbnbs, and it's clearly not appropriate in R2 based on your own ordinances. I mean, any questions? I'm sorry that
You did good.
I did not. But thank you. I mean, thank you.
I believe it's Dwayne, maybe Holder. Dwayne, yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank y'all so much for this opportunity to come up here and express our concerns. I appreciate y'all's sacrifice for the community. Some of you, you know, it's a lot of work, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, all that. But my concern is, we moved to Texarkana. I've been around here my whole life. And in the last 3 years, my stepdad and mother passed away, and I've moved to 4518 Holt Lane, which is right down from Paisley Lane. And 25 years ago, it was a decent road. And when they annexed it, it was even better. You know, the county took care of it really good. And then we annexed it, and it's the lack of maintenance on it has created just horrendous conditions down through there. Not only does the sound system for tornadoes don't work, but you're going down through there. Me and my neighbor I drive a Z71 2500. He drives one. We can't even pass each other on the street. We have to put our mirrors in to pass, or you have to pull up in somebody's yard. And as the drainage has not been took care of, then the road is just eroded away. And now they keep coming back and putting patches on there. And we've talked to the public works guy, we talked to the city manager, we talked to them over and over. Different guys in the neighborhood have talked to different people. They have answered our phone call. We were promised right before election that we would be first on the list come January. Well, I made a phone call today, and they said, well, you may be lucky to get it next year. And I usually go and do other things on Monday night, but after that phone call, I was like, I'm coming to the meeting tonight to have a conversation. I don't want to go any more public than this without at least giving y'all an opportunity to say, hey, man, we got a mess. I'm not asking for a red brick road. I'm not asking for a yellow brick road. I'm asking for some attention to it. The Public Works, the leader of the Public Works said, well, if you'll get a culvert. What he doesn't know is that there was a culvert down there 10 years ago. I can give y'all pictures. I'll fill your email up. There was a culvert set down there 10 years ago that is now down in the woods that nobody come back and put. So what happens is the water runs down off of the road, runs down the middle of the road, washes out the road. What don't go down the road goes through my pasture. So we put a culvert in my personal driveway. I took that culvert and was going to have it where the city could have a culvert for theirs. You go down through there, there's no culvert there. That's not the major issue. We've got the water flowing. But what's the major issue is now you got little cars that come down through there that the whole front end. So that's just become a mess. And in light of the tornado that just came, for me, it was probably not even half a mile. I've been there now for 2 years this time, been around there with my mother and father and stepdad for 25 years, and I've never heard a siren, not one time. And it just goes to feel like we're being neglected I live in Ward 1. I heard Terry say different wards have problems. I don't know about the other ones, but it feels like we're being neglected in Ward 1. And I just want our voice to be heard because we were told we're going to be on the list next year. That would be this year, January of this year. We got one hole patched. And I'm not so sure some of my neighbors didn't do that because there is some guys down there that have asphalt trucks. So I would really appreciate us having a conversation of where the money comes from. There's grants, there's all kinds of different ways that we can get money to address the issues.
Anything else?
That'd be it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Blaine. David?
Hello, I'm David Peavy, 105 Olive, Texarkana, Arkansas. I wanted to get a clarification on the rules of, is public allowed to speak before each vote or just the final vote? I thought it was after each vote, so at some point I would like to get a clarification of that.
Technically, on an ordinance, there is discussion prior to the ordinance being adopted. Other than that, typically, those discussions are held prior to that in citizens' communication time. But prior to an ordinance being read the third time, prior to its adoption, if it gets a motion and a second to adopt, there is time for citizens to address that particular ordinance prior to the vote taking place. So really tonight, if this thing does not make it to the third and final reading, in my opinion, unless the city attorney or sit-in city attorney and city clerk has anything different to say, there will not be any discussion during the course of that vote. This is the opportunity unless it makes it to the third reading.
I would like a further clarification, not to say anything that's not totally correct, but I had understood it to be any vote before the
But this is
board.
but that technically is not a vote, in my opinion, on that particular ordinance. It's a vote to have it read. It's not a vote
Correct.
to pass it.
Correct. The votes to read are not votes to pass it. And the vote tonight for this ordinance, the Airbnb short-term rental ordinance, is just a vote to put it on its second reading. Still have to go to a third reading and then still have to approve it.
It just seems as
One
though,
clarification, it is going to get read the second time. It is going to be read the second time tonight automatically by going 2 weeks between the first reading.
agreed, yes.
Then if there is a motion and a second to have it read on its third and final reading tonight, it would need 4 votes to get to a third and final reading.
Yes.
Then there would have to be a motion to adopt.
Yes, I read the ordinance differently than that, but I just wanted to be
You
sure.
read the rules and procedures differently, not the ordinance.
Well, of course, yes. Last week, we talked about things that were by you that were, we could watch over and see. The cats, of the 5,000 to 10,000 cats that we have in the city, how many have been registered? Do we know? Is it over 50 or under 50? Again, it's to the point that you said that it couldn't really be regulated, and I'm not sure how this can be regulated either on this ordinance here about the overnight stay. Overnight stay, we have some. we are in, I know it was written for the neighborhoods, and the neighborhoods need to be protected. If you're inside the historic district, I believe that the parking's different, everything's different inside this historic district downtown. And I believe that it should not, I believe it should be excluded from this, so that you can protect the neighborhoods. Because downtown is totally different. Y'all talked about what you spent on the Front Street Plaza. Our building, we spent about $4 million, which is more than you guys spent on. I tried to get them to turn it the other direction, toward the downtown, instead of toward the railroad tracks, but that fell by. And again, that lease on that property will be up in 32, so y'all have it for 7 more years, and that's good. So then y'all can decide if it belongs to the railroad at that time or not. Also, the water that we've had buzzing through town here, again, we need a retaining pond at World Park to hold that water back so it won't flood downstream on into Ward 2 and other places. Even your rec center was in danger if you went by there on Saturday. I would like for you to consider excluding the downtown area, which is a different area. We have an entertainment district. It's totally different. By this ordinance, I have to move out of my building because it says a manager or owner can't live there. I have to move out of my building so that I can have an overnight stay. There are things that are different downtown than at these other locations. I wish y'all would consider that. I would like for y'all to also really vote based on these rereadings, based on the 3, because you see, you got new people here when y'all were possibly going to read all 3 readings last time. So I really wish y'all would give citizens time. Thank y'all.
Anyone else wish to address the board in citizens' communication time?
Good evening. Mayor Brown, members of the Board of Directors, my name is Mike Unger. I'm an attorney at law here in Texarkana. I've been practicing for the past 20 years. My primary focus, and indeed my specialization, is residential real estate law. I understand that tonight there was an item on the agenda, item 7, that has been pulled, and I forgot, Mayor Brown, who it was that asked that it be pulled. Who was that?
No, that was in the consent agenda.
I was in the consent
You're talking
agenda.
about the Airbnb ordinance?
No, sir. I'm
Oh.
talking about item 7 on the resolution to allow the city manager.
Yes,
That one's
Director
been-
Harris has been that.
Okay.
pulled. There will be discussion on it prior to voting.
It's just moving from consent agenda
To be
to regular
discussed.
agenda.
Oh, well, I'm early, aren't I? Well, with that being said, I will wait till that item
Okay.
comes up in the agenda, and then I will address the members of the board and the city council
Okay.
appropriately. Thank you.
All right.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
I'm gonna say this.
Yes, sir.
That by it being on the consent agenda, if I didn't have any issue, it would've got voted, you wouldn't have nothing, you wouldn't have to be able a chance to speak prior to the vote on that.
You could have technically spoke during citizens' communication.
Would have spoken
And
now.
then someone
Right.
could have,
Okay.
if you have
I'm-
concerns, then someone could have pulled it.
All right, I'm not familiar with the Arkansas side procedure, so I apologize to the members of the board and the mayor. But I thought when it was drawn from the agenda, that it was struck from the agenda, period. Okay. Then when it comes back up, I will be happy to return and address y'all at that time when it is in an appropriate manner. Thank
Okay.
you.
It'll be just a few minutes. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board during citizens' communication time? Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Edward B. I'm not familiar with the proceedings. It's citizen communications for just specifically what's on the agenda today, or can we speak
for
about
anything.
anything?
Speak about anything.
Basically, what I want to speak about is the same thing the other gentleman was speaking about. I had talked to my representative about my street. I live on Sanderson Lane, 5306. He said that our street would be one of the first of this year. We've got one patch amongst many a holes. Our street looked like a war zone has been through it. It floods on both sides because the drainage hasn't been cleaned, And we're supposed to be responsible for our own culverts, but how can you be responsible for your culverts if the drainage ditches are never cleaned? I'm supposed to take a backhoe and clean my drainage ditch out along with putting my culverts in? That's the only thing I want to know is what we're going to do about the streets. As long as we keep flooding, it's going to wash what asphalt they put on the street up anyway. Down at the end of my street on 54th, it looks like a flood zone. I got a pond sitting at the corner because the water has nowhere to go.
Sir, what was your name?
Edward Bede.
Bede?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I also speak on the alarm system. I didn't hear anything either. Not for the year and a half that I've been here.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move into our presentation. Our city manager, we have some service awards to present tonight. We have 3 employees receiving service awards. I'm told 2 are present. Our first one that's not present is Mr. Jerry Cruz with the Texas County Water Utilities with 10 years. Mr. Adam Azell, Texas County Water Utilities, 5 years. Our next is Mr. Jeremy Renfro, Fire Department, 15 years. Is he here?
No, he didn't.
He's not here? Y'all give those another round of applause. Right now, we'll move into our consent agenda, which our item number 4, 5, and 7 have been pulled from the consent agenda. So that leaves us with item number 3, which is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on March the 17th and the special call meeting on March 24th. Item number 6, to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager and into agreement with LifeNet. Item number 8 is to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase a 2026 International MB607 dump truck for TWU. And item number 9 is to adopt a resolution authorizing the airport executive director into a line of credit for the renewal agreement with Farmers Bank. What would be the desire of the board for those consent agenda items?
Move for adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries.
Mayor,
Yes.
I believe there's a proclamation there for you to read.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, 2.
There is. We have a proclamation to declare tonight for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And I think there's somebody here to receive that, so I'll read it and we'll present it to you. National Public Safety Telecommunications Week will be April the 11th through the 17th of 2025. Whereas the dedicated men and women of our public safety telecommunications centers are the first and only point of contact for citizens seeking emergency assistance. And whereas these telecommunicators, including 911 operators and dispatchers, play a critical role in ensuring the safety and well-being of our community by providing prompt and accurate information to emergency responders. And whereas their ability to remain calm and composed under pressure while expertly managing complex situations is essential for the effective delivery of public safety services. And whereas the second week of April is recognized nationally as the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, a time to celebrate and thank these unsung heroes for their tireless efforts. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Alan L. Brown, Mayor of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, do hereby recognize the week of April 11th through April the 17th, 2025, as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, and encourage our citizens to join in expressing their gratitude and appreciation for the invaluable service provided by our public safety telecommunicators. It's signed by our city clerk, Heather Sawyers, and myself, Alan Brown, as mayor, and I'll present it to
Mayor, I'd like to add to that too, though. If it hadn't have been for dispatch Saturday, I don't know what a lot of our citizens would have done because y'all had no clue what was going on, and I'm sure y'all were inundated with phone calls when all of that started, and y'all did an excellent job in taking care of these people, and I want to thank you for that too. Thank you.
Our next item of business would be to discuss item number 3 on the consent agenda, or item number 4, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter an engineering contract with Frankson Engineering for the design of the Tennessee Road improvements. Director Harris.
Yes, it's not that I have an issue per se doing this street, or nothing, that's not the issue. My concern is that, when we was hiring, or agreed to hire our current city manager, that we supposed to be trying to find an engineer, for that. And based on that, concern, if we plan on in the future, do almost, say for instance, if the public agree to spend the 20 million, or approve of a $20 million bond, we looking like it's on average 10% fee, like for a road, cause you're paying $420,000, you're paying $47,000 for engineering. Why is we not trying to find an engineer in-house and for us to save us money? And I thought that was somewhat was the contention of hiring you, current city manager, probably supposed to be getting us, and what's the status on that? Are we going?
We had to make cuts to the public works budget, and that position was put on hold.
Director Harris, that absolutely was the plan. However, we had to freeze that position, so the city did still save that money. We had to freeze that position to allow for multiple other things in the budget. So, but no, we will not be able to fill that city engineer position this year, but hopefully going into next year, we can make that happen.
Okay, but how much was you planning on trying to pay a city engineer?
It's going to depend on who we could get. It's going to depend on their qualifications.
Because right now, we paying $47,000.
No, that's for an engineer tech.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, no, I mean, you're probably going to have to pay a city engineer, I mean, at least $80,000, I would imagine.
Okay, but don't we spend that much?
Typically, we spend more than that in design work.
time,
Yeah, typically, yes, sir.
That'll cover his salary.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So that's all I say. I didn't
Not
have
this
to
year.
say anything.
This year, we're only,
I just that was my opportunity to bring up the engineering fee and bring up the lack we don't have engineers. So that's all I say.
Any other discussion?
I do have, since we're talking about this Tennessee Road project, we've got one street project planned for this whole year. That's all our budget would allow, for $420,000 to do this one street. Would it be possible, or would it be reasonable, I guess, to not do that project and potentially do some smaller projects throughout town? I mean, we've got some bridges out, we've got potholes, flooding, drainage. I mean, there's some major issues that we've got to address, and we can't wait for a bond issue, or we can't wait for another budget cycle.
that would be solely up to the board if they wish to do that. Now, we have, I believe, $420,000 budgeted for Tennessee Road.
Yes, sir.
So this engineering contract is for $41,900,
Yes.
about $42,000. We could always move forward with this engineering contract. It's going to take them a good while to get the contract done anyways. We're working on multiple other funding avenues to work on potholes and some of these other issues that you're talking about. The state has declared the storm this weekend a disaster, so we'll get some funding from that. We're going to loop in everything possible into our claim on that, including potholes, because we certainly ended up with a whole lot more potholes from that heavy downpour. So we'll see what funding we can get out of that. Maybe if we can get enough funding to address these other issues through that or through the other sources, we could move forward with that project. If not, then, maybe we could reevaluate it and possibly use that money for something else. But That'd be up to y'all if y'all wanted to eliminate that project. It was,
I would say, Mayor, I would say this then. If, that's basically in Ward 3. So you already allocate that money to utilize in Ward 3, and if the ward director feel like he want to use it for other area in Ward.
No,
it's Ward 1.
Oh, is it Ward 1?
Yeah.
Well.
My piece of Tennessee's already done.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
But-
mine isn't.
Oh,
My thing would be that it was approved in, the board approved the budget as Tennessee Road rehabilitation.
Then, I guess I asked the question then. I know I gave you Hayes Street and I think Panhurst, Fox Street and Panhurst Street. My issue would be on that issue is, I noticed that since you've been here, most of your streets you've been doing is out in the countryside. You never really done in the street, in the infrastructure within the city limits, per se, in the countryside. I'm not saying it doesn't need those streets. I'm saying those streets.
I hope they're all in the city limits.
Well, I mean saying the city limit more on the countryside, there was road that was annexed, but none of the streets, I'm just saying, I'm just gonna get one street for instance, is that, Senator Street. I know it's not in my ward, but sometimes I drive other streets, Garland Street, when I be coming from Walmart, coming to Walmart. Now that street been like that for the longest, and that street not in my ward.
Let me help you with that. Let me help you with that. Yeah.
But that's not in my ward.
Can I give you a
But,
list
okay,
to drive in my
Wait.
ward?
Okay, but my point is this here. How is you making determination? I know we doing the study in the future, or we doing a study, but my saying to this, which I always said, most of them study is biased to the poor community. I know I've been saying that, and that's what I see, and that's my opinion, and that's based on where you look at the history of the street you have. I know I just had a street done, per se, but that was state aid money. And last year was the first time within the 5 years that a street was actually done in Ward. That wasn't using some other, that was used, I'm gonna say maybe general fund or something. I can't think of a street I'm talking about, Drone Street. I can't think of another street in the last 3 or 4 years that been done. Now, we did Dudley, but Dudley came from that,
ARPA?
Clover, the money from,
ARPA?
what you call it?
ARPA?
ARPA money. That
American
mean-
Rescue
that
Act?
mean that the state or the last administration gave the city almost, we got what, 200, 300 some thousand, $1 million? So, and, you know, and that's how basically that Dudley Street got done, even though it was $1.1 million, but you did some other streets within, and that was the last street that was done, of the COVID monies that was done. But I'm saying that, I just think that there should be a better and a fair, and I'm only gonna use the word fair. I'm just saying the current criteria that's being utilized is not fair for the poor neighborhoods. And I can back that up. All I do is just request a FOI for the last street that you done. And I'm not saying all the streets out in the countryside don't need to be done. I'm not saying that. And I think I'd have voted for every street that came up here to be done. And I haven't voted no on the street, so don't y'all get riled up and say that. But I'm just saying the current thing of the current process is not being fair to the poor neighborhood. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
So this-
And mine based on data of the streets that haven't been done. Now, you can go ahead.
This is exactly why I have a street study done. So I have said since I've been with the city, I don't care what ward it's in. If the street needs to be done, if it's on the priority list, that's what's going to be done. And that's exactly why I have a street study done. So there is no bias there. A qualified company comes in, evaluates all the roads, they're prioritized, and the roads at the top of that list are what gets done. There's no biasness whatsoever. I don't pay attention to what ward they're in. I don't care. If it's on that priority list, that's what's done. And ultimately, that comes to y'all for approval.
I mean, we're going to
Hey,
have.
just briefly, I just want to elaborate on what was communicated by Holly Bush.
And for my ward, I guess why it's so detrimental, because a lot of the schools are in my ward area, and those roads inside the inner city, really need much more attention, for, the safety of our bus drivers, safety of our citizens going back and forth to schools. And I know we have a process, and, we have voted on some roads, and in the future, we do need to look a little closer to these inner city roads, because I know I've called in maybe, 10 or 20 a month, but at some point, we do have to take in consideration of the public safety of the traveling, because I have 2 or 3 schools right there in my area, and the roads are very unsafe. And so we'll continue to elaborate and do assessment, and so we can, I know we don't have to rush to failure. We want to do assessment, but we want to make sure we cover in the areas we know that need to be covered. And
What do we get?
that's what
$1.5 million?
Not even that this year.
I mean, you
Got about
a
420.
mile of asphalt is what, about $1 million?
I'm sorry, say that
A
again?
mile of asphalt, what is that, about 900,000 or so?
Not quite, probably more like 500.
Yeah, about half a
You're
million.
not getting much
Yeah.
bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Either way, we're gonna have to look at a bond issue. It's gonna be the only thing that gets us out of this mess, because if not, you're gonna nickel and dime your way to potholes. I mean, you're gonna have to have a big influx of cash to come in and do something with our streets.
And let me help you with that. We do have some items that we can do in-house, and that we'll be bringing up in a later point, that we can increase our sales tax revenue. So we're not just doing potholes, we can start doing pavement. This is not the time for it right now, but we do have some initiatives that we're going to put forward.
Any other discussion? If not, I would instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the Public Works Department is requesting the approval of the Texarkana, Arkansas Board of Directors to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with A.L. Franks Engineering, Inc. for the design of the Tennessee Road improvements, and whereas the city submitted a request for qualifications, RFQ, in January 2025 for engineers, architects, and surveyors, and whereas A.L. Franks Engineering, Inc. was selected as a qualified engineer for city projects based on their qualifications and extensive work history with the city, and whereas A.L. Franks Engineering, Inc. submitted their design fee proposal for this project in the amount of $41,800, and whereas the funds are budgeted and available, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the city manager is authorized to enter into a contract with A.L. Franks Engineering, Inc. for the purposes set forth above, with funding from the sources so indicated.
City attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
For adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibush,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. Our next item is item number 5, to adopt a resolution expressing the willingness of the city of Texarkana, Arkansas to utilize Arkansas Department of Transportation federal aid monies for Siebert Street Bridge replacement. Director Harris.
My concern on that is that I'm not saying that that's, how was that bridge, picked?
It
How
was
that-
based on RDOT's review of that bridge and the issues that we have with it. We originally was gonna apply for this one at first, but then we had a bridge out on Joy Lane that had more issues, but that one, they did not approve. And Tyler requested them to look at Siebert, and they did approve this one. But it was mainly because of the safety issues with Siebert Street Bridge.
Well, I know Siebert Street is got a lot of traffic on it now, just got much traffic, Panther Street, but I also noticed that there's a bridge on Grove and, corner of Grove and, California Street. So, and that bridge is in real bad shape, but that's my assessment, but my assessment may not work, right, so how is, or who's gonna be in charge to look at other bridge within the city, not just the one there on California and Grove Street, and cause I even get some I've been getting some complaints about it, too, but how would you go about, and who going about looking at the bridge and making an assessment for the bridge and putting in those for to be done? What,
So RDOT inspects all of our bridges. Any bridge over 20 foot, RDOT is responsible for inspecting those bridges. Now, part of this local bridge program, where they offer the 90-10 grant, there's only a limited amount of bridges that you can even apply for. They have to meet certain criteria. One of them is that they have to be an urban collector.
okay.
Or local.
Or local or urban collector, I believe. It also has to be on FHWA's National Bridge Inventory list, and it also has to be, I forget the condition rating that it is, but it also has to meet a certain condition rating. So you can get on FHWA's National Bridge Inventory list. It'll show you every bridge in the city that's on there. And there's only one bridge in our city that's eligible for this money, and that is Seabrook Street Bridge.
All right, that's all. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'd instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, hereinafter called the city, understands federal aid funds are available for certain local projects at the following federal and city participating ratios per project. Bridge replacement, all phases, federal share 90%, local share 10%. Projects designed but never progressed to construction, all right-of-way and utilities, federal share 0%, local share 100%. Whereas the city is requesting the Arkansas Department of Transportation, hereinafter called the department, make funding available to replace a bridge, structure number 19272 on Seabrook Street. And whereas the department has agreed to provide federal aid funds for 90% of the cost for a feasibility study. And whereas the department will assign an on-call consultant to perform the feasibility study, which will include preliminary engineering for conceptual level plans and development of a planning level cost estimate. And whereas upon completion of the feasibility study, the city will request additional funding for future phases as needed. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that Section 1, the city will participate in accordance with its design responsibilities in this project. Section 2, the mayor and their designated representative is hereby authorized and directed to execute all appropriate agreements and contracts necessary to expedite the construction of this project. Section 3, the city pledges its full support and hereby authorizes the Arkansas Department of Transportation to initiate action to implement this project.
City attorney's read the resolution, the desire of the board.
Move for adoption.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Would you call the roll?
Director Brewer?
Yes.
Director Jewell?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Yes.
Director Roberts?
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Harris?
Yes.
Director Hollobush?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes. Next is item number 7, to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to forgive eligible demolition liens up to $10,000. Director Harris, would you like to yield to Mr. Unger, or would you like to?
It don't really matter, but I go ahead and start since I don't want to question this stuff. It's always good to have a lawyer, because he made me, missing stuff that I may not.
Hang on, Mr. Harris, you might want to look at Mr. Roberts and ask.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
2 days a week.
But, what
Saturday and Sunday?
what I see or what I don't see, I would like to see a little bit more detail as to what and how you're doing. I know it doesn't say whether it's a house or property that was, well, I say a house that was towed down CBG, or was it towed down city farm. You don't mention that, and you don't mention, it's basically gonna be is it basically gonna be the public works call? It doesn't tell how much money that you had spent. I'm saying the average house probably was, $6,000-7,000 to be towed down. Could even, well, it could be even lower than that. I'm saying it's a brick house, but if it was a frame house, maybe by 4, and then, and it's the person that coming back, trying to put another house there, is just say if I put in the request for put in, have the lien taken off, and then I change my mind about that, and I already got the lien taken off, then I turn it around, sell the property. does that lien taken off go with that? And then that person just getting a $10,000 windfall because of the property, since y'all took the lien off the property, and having y'all that did all that. And then I would like to see a list or sometime, since the board's not gonna make no decision as to if they gonna agree to the lien be taken. I would like to see some type of notice somewhere down the line as to what property you have gave that ability to forego the lien, and then in the future, are we still gonna be putting lien on property? No, 'cause we put a lien on the property, which we probably ain't never collect money off of in the first place, and we probably never will collect money off of it. And this the way to somewhat control, to put another control on the property, which may not be with the lien process. So that's just another way to, and then my last concern, which I'm finna let you have, Mr. Attorney, just say that we do that, take the lien off the property, then the person sells the property to somebody, then and then he turn around and sell the property, is that lien gonna go with that person or just staying with the property? And then that may make a piece of property may increase in value, but what is our main objective? Is our main objective is to get the property that we is cutting, which we doing a lot of that. Somebody come there and put houses on the property, or y'all just tired of cutting grass and all that, so.
The main objective of this is to have development back on the property. So I went back and forth on how to bring this before you, but ultimately, we decided to just keep it as simple as possible. So if the city manager were to forgive the lien, it would be based on their agreement to construct back on the property within so many months, say 18 months, 24 months, whatever that may be. The problem is, in order for these property owners to get a loan to build on the property, that lien has to be forgiven on that front end. And you're trusting, really, even though they signed this agreement, that they're going to build on that property. We could potentially require some sort of bond or letter of irrevocable credit from them to release that lien. And then if they didn't follow through with that agreement, we could collect on that bond or the letter of credit. There's also cases where a neighboring property would, an adjacent property would like to purchase that and incorporate it into their property. That would be more beneficial than having the empty lot there. So there's different scenarios that is the reason I'm trying to keep it simple here. But there would have to be, in order for me to forgive one of these demolition liens, it would have to be based upon some sort of construction agreement. Now, it's possible these liens, even the CDBG ones, go away altogether. We were just notified by AML just this last week that there could be an issue with placing these demolition liens. I have to look into more of that, but we've already decided that we weren't placing any liens than what we're absolutely required to do, and that was with the CDBG money. And we have to do that because we can't grant a windfall to anyone that doesn't qualify for that low to moderate income. But there's a strong possibility that those CDBG grants are going away anyway. But this is mainly in relation to liens that y'all have already placed in the past. Moving forward, it's going to be different. But for instance, this one situation that we have now, they're willing to enter into a construction agreement with us and build on that property, but they can't even get the property in their name until this lien is forgiven. So we generally have to forgive it on the front end, but there will have to be some sort of construction agreement signed.
Tyler, how was the $10,000 threshold arrived at?
That covers most all of our residential liens. Now, there are some that get a little bit over that, but for the most part, I'd imagine our demo liens average about $5,000. Now, if we have to demolish a commercial building, it's going to be a lot more than that. But the $10,000 encompasses most all of our residential demos.
Now, you're requesting this to be at the city manager's discretion, right?
Correct.
Not to have to bring it before the board.
Correct. Yes,
The
sir.
logic there being what?
We have these come up quite often, and it's not always easy to bring every one of these back to the board. I could certainly do that if that's what y'all desire. I'm just putting this in front of y'all. If it's something you would like to move forward with, great. If not, then that's up to y'all.
Well, Tyler, I want to say this right here. We had the opportunity to go to an education leadership training. And in that education leadership training, we talked about the discouragement of entrepreneurship, the availability of your neighbors having the opportunity to help rebuild your community. And also we talked about the restrictions. There is so many restrictions that is discouraging for investors or a neighbor that may want to invest in a property that's about to be demolition, that could be rehab. And so I think that was a really good training session we was in, an initiative that you're putting forth, not whether or not this will be able to go forward, but I really hope it does. It gives the community the opportunity to invest in entrepreneurship, because when you lower the restrictions, it encourages everyone to be a part of the community, to help build a community. And just think about it. We spend $7,000 on a demolition. We demolition 2,000 homes. We're looking at roughly over $1.4–2 million. Those are monies we could have been putting in our streets, because it's no guarantee that we're going to ever get any of those liens back that we put on people, which I don't think we have a high accountability of receiving liens anyway. So with this right here, this initiative, at least it gives us the opportunity to encourage entrepreneurship and encourage rehab, and there's more sales tax we can use. And instead of just doing the potholes, maybe we can get some pavement here. There's a lot of different avenues we can do in-house. And I think this is one of the initiatives that we can not discourage some of our citizens locally or abroad to invest. And with that being said, I think about the other opportunities when there's houses that they that's going to be on the demolition list, and they may be sitting up 4 or 5 years, and they might have to be told, okay, you got to get a water pressure test. They get a water pressure test, then they say they still got to get a new meter, and that's a discouragement, another $1,400 or what have you. I think it's things we can do to turn the lights on here in Texarkana to encourage our entrepreneurship. We just have to be willing to just lower the restriction and just be a little bit more strategic. We don't have to rush to failure. That's all I'm saying. And now with that initiative that you're putting out there, I really do like that, because it gives, with some of the youth that we want to partner with the high schools, it gives them the opportunity to say, I'm going into business. By the time I graduate high school, I'm going to do rehab, and because I can buy this home, I buy this property, and now the property tax is not that high on Arkansas side, but the liens, now I can get the lien removed. So now you're moving barriers out the way for our community to help build our own community. And so I see a win-win in this. So, but there's always pros and cons, but we got to move forward. We got to step out there somewhere to continue to keep Texarkana moving.
Mike?
What's the current collection rate on the liens?
0.
Very, very little.
Minimal to none.
I mean,
You're not getting any.
I'd be surprised if we collect on 5%. I mean,
Okay.
that's probably a big exaggeration itself.
Okay.
And it's also in the resolution that liens are eligible to be forgiven contingent upon an agreement to maintain the property or build back on the property.
Yes.
Tyler, is this kind of have you talked to the tax collector about this as well? I talked to her, and they were having problems, when somebody pays it, getting who releases the lien.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that.
Yeah, in the past, it's been done different ways. Once they pay the lien, it obviously doesn't have to come back to the board to be released, but in the past, it's been done by the mayor, it's been done by the public works director, it's been done by the city manager, the city attorney, so it got real convoluted in there.
Well, Adam said it makes sense.
But Tracy, Josh, and I did meet about this, and once they're paid, the public works director, the city manager is releasing those liens.
So currently, if somebody wanted to request for a lien to be released, they would have to come before the board.
Mm-hmm.
And so all this ordinance is doing is basically taking away some bureaucracy and red tape and streamlining the process.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
I don't think we got no procedure as to who released the lien. I don't think it said that they had to come before the board. If you just heard what he just said,
It's-
released the lien.
I'm talking about for liens that are paid. For the ones that are paid, yes, we can release those in-house, but to actually be forgiven, the board places that lien.
Right.
It's the city attorney's
Board
opinion that,
the board would have to do another reverse resolution or ordinance to release that lien, right?
No.
Why?
No, just if a person comes in and pays a
Yeah, I'm
lien,
saying paying them, but what he talking about, if we did a ordinance or a resolution to put lien on property, do we have to do an ordinance to release that lien?
not
Nah,
if they pay it.
I'm saying that.
If they don't pay it, it's never released. What he's saying now is that he would have the authority, if somebody came forward, to release that lien if it was less than 10,000.
Right.
But if you, in this particular case with these people, they owe $5,600 or
Yeah,
something, some kind of lien on there.
Yeah.
If they went down and paid that, I've maybe done 2 of those in my 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
They get me, Josh does a release a lien, I go down there and sign it and release it, because it's paid. The city got their money. It's these liens that are never, and that is a dime a
Won't we
dozen.
just,
Yeah.
put a resolution, just do away all the liens then, and that would solve a whole.
No, but what we should do is what we've talked about in the past is be selective on why we're putting the tax collector and these people through these types of processes to put these liens on these properties, because they're not gonna ever get paid. I would venture to say that most of these $6,000 and $7,000 liens that are on these pieces of property, on houses that we have demoed, are worth less than $500 for the actual lot. You're never gonna collect that money. No one, in my opinion, is gonna pay $5,000 or $6,000, and that's how they ended up on the demo list. They never paid.
Right.
And they never took care of it, so.
And they end up going through, after 3 years, they go to the state.
State.
No,
And
she-
the state end up.
No, she renews, we renew all of those liens after 36 months, Josh, you remember? You know how a lien, a
10
property
years.
lien,
To the land commission.
It's 10 years.
I mean, Jake,
I'm saying, what, end up going to the land commissioner, and then they got a.
They
that would be
don't,
for property tax purposes, and your lien is done.
they're not required to pay those liens on the front end. If it goes through state auction, which is the issue with most of these liens, they'll acquire the property through state auction. They've got no idea that the lien is on there. And now they're stuck with it, with this lien on it. They can't sell it themselves because then the purchaser would have to pay the lien. And that's the situation with this particular property. Now, this is mainly for liens that y'all have already placed in the past. Moving forward, we're doing things differently. So I don't see this being an issue moving forward. This is mainly for all those liens that are out there right now. If I have somebody come in next week where we placed a lien on it 7 years ago and they want to build back on the property, by golly, I want them to build back on the property.
Yes, yes, definitely, yes.
Mr. Strong,
All right, I feel like I'm at a family reunion. I just got to jump in. As I said earlier, my name's Mike Unger. I'm an attorney in Texarkana. I practice real estate law, and in fact, I'm board certified by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization. That's a mouthful, in residential real estate. I represent a client by the name of Jason Fennessy, who in fact acquired a piece of property at 204 Marguerite Drive in Texarkana, Arkansas, at estate sale from the Commissioner of State Lands. There is a lien, I think it's about $5,000 for tearing down an old home that was on that property. And he wants to, actually, there's another gentleman by the last name of Irwin who lives in that neighborhood. He lives around the corner. He wants to build a house on that lot. The problem they're facing is, number one, there is this lien. Number two, they can't even pay the property taxes due and owing to the state and the county and the city until this lien is resolved. They won't even, the tax assessor won't even take or the tax collector, I'm sorry, won't even take their payment for property taxes. So it's the dog chasing its tail. If they can't pay it, it's going to go back into foreclosure for non-payment of taxes, and here we are. And I dare say that probably the millage rate will remain the same unless the gentleman who had previously owned the property, and I understand he passed away and this property hadn't had taxes paid on it in 5 or 6 years before the state foreclosed on it, and Mr. Fennessy acquired it through the state auction.
So he was not aware that there was taxes, that there was a lien on it?
No.
Is what you're saying?
That's correct. Because under state law, once the Miller County Assessor's Office and Tax Collector's Office certify the property as delinquent in taxes to the Commissioner of State Lands, the Commissioner sends out tax notices to the owner of the property and any other lien holders of record, like a judgment lien or a mortgage company, including the IRS, that there are liens on the property. Now, if you get an IRS lien, you're really well hosed because you can't extinguish theirs. But they are, all those liens, the mortgages, the junior lien holders, and everybody get extinguished through this process, except ones that are like the city lien. It doesn't get extinguished. So what they're asking is, and they are willing, Mr. Irwin is willing, because he lives in the neighborhood, he wants to beautify the neighborhood, and he wants to increase the tax base for the city of Texarkana. Whether he rents the house out as a long-term rental, I'm not going to step into that Airbnb mess from earlier. But, if he wants to have it as a long-term rental, or if he wants to build his dream home and move his wife around the corner to this house, it's either way, I think it's a win-win. Mr. Brewer, to your point, it's a win-win for the city. You get a house that's in a neighborhood that's got some nice homes in it. It's going to be a brand-new home. They're not moving in a manufactured home, thank goodness. But you're going to be increasing your tax base, your tax revenue, and I think in the long run, the city of Texarkana, Arkansas is going to benefit from this, from the standpoint of tax collection on the residential real estate. In addition, you're going to be able to, have somebody, if they want to, have a long-term rental. I represent a number of people who do landlord tenants, and they do have a number of houses that they will acquire as long-term rentals. And I think that this property is a good property for that. The lot's already vacant. But we can't move forward quieting the title.
Yeah, we cleaned it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why you have the lien, Mayor. But I mean, it's in the neighborhood. He wants to build in the neighborhood, but they can't even move forward on quieting the title in order to go through the transaction with the title company with this lien sitting out there.
Let me ask you something, Mr.
Yes, sir,
Hunter.
Mr. Roberts.
And I know that I know some of these people personally, and they owe property taxes, not on that property, but on property that they already own. So we're waiving tax, are we able to check to see if they owe any property taxes? Because if they do, we're giving them a free pass.
I don't think it's a waiver of the taxes. It's a waiver of the fines that the city imposed.
Well, the thing is, but if they owe property taxes, why should we waive
On a
them?
different property. You're talking about if they owe on a different property.
Taxes in
That's,
Miller County on any piece of property.
that is certainly something that I can
Because
research through the
I
process.
can tell you, I know for a fact, there are people that do that.
Well, according to the gentleman that was here earlier on the Airbnb, there's a lot of people not paying their A&P.
Well, I don't think that we should give anything away if they're owing the county something.
I'm not asking for a waiver of any taxes on this property or any other
No,
properties.
but the person that is selling the property, if he owes any taxes to Miller County, that should be paid before anything is.
Well, this particular piece of property was auctioned at the state. The owners are out. It was auctioned off
The
through
person
the
that
state.
bought the property is now trying to sell it again.
Yeah.
Correct.
The
So-
person that bought the property.
The one that bought it at auction is trying to sell.
So if the
The
person,
gentleman that
trying to
bought the
develop.
property at auction, his name is Jason Fennessy.
so if he owes property taxes to Miller County, I mean, that should come into play somewhere. Unless he's cleared up his taxes because his name was in the newspaper
Would
for
that
back
be
taxes.
part of your due diligence, Tyler?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, the one thing I can tell you, Mr. Roberts, on this particular piece of property at closing, as y'all know, if y'all have ever bought and sold real estate, whether it's in Texas or in Arkansas or any other state,
Yeah.
at the time of the transaction, if there are any taxes owed or any mortgages outstanding, they are taken care of, I say that, through the sale of the property.
But
The
that-
title agency will pick them up, but they don't pick up whether you owe property tax on a piece of property on the other end of town or at the opposite
Correct.
side of the
But
county.
The city manager can check into that as well.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, I
I
certainly
mean,
can.
No, I think that they do.
Well, I mean,
In
I'm
my
not
experience
forgiving
with
away-
real estate closings in Arkansas, they have to have their personal property up to date, any real estate taxes they owe, period. They even prorate your personal property taxes at the time of any real estate closing. So they have to pay, and the only way they know that is by name.
Well, personal property taxes, Mayor, they're going to be, your cars and stuff are going to
Right.
follow you. But as far as property
Real
taxes
estate.
on the real estate, the only ones that I'm aware of that the title companies
Is the
collect
real estate transactions.
are on the ones on that particular tract of land. Yes, sir.
Now, it's very possible that this could be delinquent taxes on this property because he's not able to pay them because of the
It's
lien.
not, it's on East.
All right, never mind.
Yeah,
I
because
can
he was,
I can tell you exactly.
Mr. Roberts, he was in my office to sign this petition to quiet title to this particular tract. He informed me at that time, he couldn't even pay the tax on this piece of land because of this lien. The collector said, I can't take it because there's a lien out there.
Well, I just want to make sure that before we waive anything, all of his taxes that are due to this county and this city are paid.
Best I can say, sir, is I can check.
I will absolutely be checking.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yes.
Now you make me ask you another question. You saying due to the fact that we putting liens, which they on the front end, when we put liens on property that we tearing down, the county can't take the money? That what you trying to say?
That's not a part, as far as I understand it, Mr. Harris, the fines is really what they are not something that get cleared up through the sale on state land or land through the Commissioner of State Lands.
Oh, you saying
Okay.
since it was done through state land.
Right.
That lien could not be cleared up. So-
Correct.
So if the owner came back and tried to pay the lien, it could not be paid.
If the owner is given an opportunity through this foreclosure process for non-payment of property taxes, they're given notice that the state and the county intend to foreclose on their property and sell it, and they are given a period of time in which to pay the delinquent taxes that are owed.
Right.
That does not speak to any fines that have been assessed by the city.
Right.
That he would have to come into City Hall, pay that fine, and then Mayor Brown would have to run over to Potter and Marks and sign a release. So, yeah.
Any other discussion? If not, I would instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the city manager requests authorization of the Texarkana, Arkansas Board of Directors to forgive eligible demolition liens under $10,000, and whereas liens are eligible to be forgiven contingent upon an agreement to maintain the property or build back on the property, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the city manager is authorized to forgive demolition liens under $10,000 that meet the above referenced contingencies.
City attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
Move for adoption.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibush,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. So we can take care of that.
Thank you, gentlemen. Y'all have a great night.
Likewise.
I get to go celebrate a girl's 14th birthday.
Moving right along, we have one item on our regular agenda tonight, which is item number 10, which will be the second reading. Adopt an ordinance to regulate the establishment and operation of a short-term residential rental. I'd instruct the city attorney to read the ordinance on its second reading in title form.
An ordinance to regulate the establishment and operation of short-term residential rentals and for other purposes.
So the ordinance has been read on its second reading. Do we have a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its third and final reading tonight?
Motion for third and final reading.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and second to have the ordinance read on its third and final reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer?
No.
Director Jewell?
Yes.
Director Roberts?
Yes.
Sorry, Director Smith?
No.
Assistant Mayor Harris?
No.
Director Hollibush?
No.
Mayor Brown?
No. The ordinance fails to have its third and final reading. It will move to the April the 21st agenda for its third and final reading, and a motion or not for adoption. Having said that, board commentary. Is there any board member that wishes to address the board?
I guess.
Yes?
I know, I have been stated to that the area went off in the state on Seaver Street, Pinehurst, and Morrison Street, and all the way down to Preston Street, wherever you gonna do, you can't stop the flooding over there, but I'm just gonna use the word mitigation. Now, what about some type of mitigation, in that area there, to help, which, when I say the word mitigation, that means to limit the amount of damage or the amount of flooding could be done. Now, that night when it was flooding around about 9 o'clock, I was driving around Ward 2, that the area that I could and the area that I know of. I know it's around by Chester Street that it wasn't flooding that much. And that could have been the reason, because over on Chester Street, when they was doing the, I guess, the drainage, the new pipes there, you had about real big, I'm just gonna say 3-foot holes, ditches going towards the creek there. And so based on that, I didn't notice no flooding, but when you got over there on Stevenson Street to Pinehurst and Morrison, and back there close to by that church on Parkview Avenue Church, that's where the flooding is at. And I know is in a way back, should I say, do some mitigation back up to Stevenson Street and going on up to around Pinehurst Street, because if you look now, I guess I put on, I went to our website and I took pictures the other day, and you would notice, today, and I put on their request, because it's all rocks and stuff in the street there from the railroad track back to Washington Street. And now the culvert is pushed up out the ground, and there's a tire there, and the water's steady coming out the culvert there. So apparently, that culvert there is stopped up. But is there any way you can go through there from the railroad track and try to put 3-foot pipes, I'm gonna say, 3-foot pipes around through there and run it down from the railroad track all the way to the ditch there, then go back and do the same on Stevenson Street, going to the ditch, then coming up to what's the other street? It's another street that I know is Stevenson Street where the courts is at. Then there's another street. I'm thinking it's not. I can't remember what street that is, but there's another street there. So my question is, instead of we trying to pay somebody to do all this, and I'm just looking at what happened down there on Chester Street, and I know I'm not an engineer, and I know sometimes you got to go spend bukus of money that we don't have, and I just said sometimes the common sense approach, from what I can see, may resolve the issue. How do we put a mitigation plan in the plan, then request money to do what needs to be done? Because I guess I can send you the pictures that I took that night around about 9:30 when I was driving around the ward, and then that next morning I got pictures that I can take and let you show and see how the water was pushing up down there by that Harold Place right there on Lincoln Street. And that what pushed that manhole, or that culvert up. There, I got pictures showing, and I'm assuming it was done by water now, because I don't think the water could flow down into the creek. So how do we go about trying to, do I need to try to put in some written requests, or do we have to get an engineer, or do it have to come from the engineers to get recognized by the state? Or could the city do it? Or how is that?
It's, by all means, any issue that you see, send it on to us so we can at least have it on record, even if we can't address it right then. But please go ahead and send it to us so we've got it. The County Office of Emergency Management is responsible for the hazard mitigation plan. In order to receive a lot of these grant funds for drainage work, most of those come through Arkansas Department of Emergency Management, and ultimately from FEMA. All of those grants require that your county have a state-approved hazard mitigation plan. Since I have been with the city, we have not had a state-approved plan. And when I started with the city in 2018, started inquiring about it and pushing the Office of Emergency Management to get that plan done. It was started by two different individuals, and I have constantly pressured them, and the director that's in there now, Mr. Lohr, he's done a great job to actually progress that plan, and he's very close to finalizing it. So we're actually going to have a final meeting with the mayors and myself and Office of Emergency Management to finalize that plan here pretty quick. So why it hasn't gained any traction in the previous directors, I'm not sure, but we do have to have that plan in place. It's a plan that has to be done by an engineer, and then it has to be approved by the state. But it's got to be in place in order for us to receive those grant funds. But we are very close to getting that.
So
I had a conversation with them about it today.
So what I just not stated, how would I know if those issues is in the plan, or how would I get those?
It's
issues
not,
in the plan?
it's not necessarily required that every single one of those issues be in the plan. So what's in the plan is a general approach. There are some specifics in the plan, but you can generalize those items and still qualify. It doesn't, I don't have to have every single culvert that needs to be installed in that plan, if that makes sense.
Do you have a ballpark on what kind of grant money we're talking there?
There's a lot of hazard mitigation money out there. You can get quite a bit of money. But, I mean, it's all going to depend on their funding for that year. Yeah. How much is in the pot to begin with?
Motion to adopt?
Any other board member?
Mayor, I'd like,
Yes.
this afternoon, well, at a time when we often see or read about police officers overreacting, this afternoon I witnessed an incident involving one of our young police officers who, after pursuing and then finally stopping a vehicle on East 44th Street, an individual who exited the vehicle brandishing a long hunting knife, which to me looked that long. In reality, it was about that long. While screaming and shouting, "Go ahead and just shoot me," but instead this young officer kept challenging the individual to put down the knife while maintaining separation between them. The officer, with gun in hand, kept calm and repeatedly commanded the individual to drop the knife, who, after a short while, did drop the knife and sped away, but was apprehended later. The incident lasted only a few minutes, but could have ended very differently and very tragically had Officer Mary Jones not kept her cool and not acted in the very professional manner in which she did. Thus, I would like to commend Officer Mary Jones with the Texas County, Arkansas Police Department for her handling of the most delicate situation. I know Mary Jones and our other dedicated officers exemplify what it takes to be true police officers. Again, I would like to commend Officer Mary Jones for not allowing the situation to get out of hand. So I'd like to give her and the police department a round of applause, please. I don't believe she's here.
Any other board member?
I have just a brief comment. I want to talk about the Public Utilities Commission. Next slide, please. As you all see here, before I go into this, I do want to, Tyler, I want to give you all kudos to the storm cleanup. I was out there myself with a lot of your employees out there. They showed teamwork, selfless service. I mean, they went just above and beyond. They was professional, and it said a lot about the guys that's on your team when it comes to making it happen. So keep doing what you're doing, keep inspiring, giving them purpose, direction, and motivation, because they're making it happen out there.
Thank you. It's all them.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Now, what we have here is the Public Utilities Commission. And on that Public Utilities Commission is myself, Holly Bush, and Director Jewell. And what you're going to see here, we're going to talk about the quality of life. I can go back to 2021 of putting in like internal investigations, because the power would just go out in a heartbeat when the wind would blow, because, the overgrown vegetation, the squirrels running on the transformers, tripping the equipment. Power was always going out. And so I just want to give the Public Utilities Commission their due praise for going above and beyond. Next slide, please. As you can see there, a lot of the vegetation cutting has been as advantageous, because they've been putting the focus on a lot of the traditional reliability on the vegetation management. Now, if you all have driven the area from 19th Street, well, even further back to like 12th Street, all the way to Realtor Road, bordered by the west side of State Line and the east side of Jefferson, you see it's been a lot of vegetation cutting, and now they've moved on to another section. Next slide, please. And what we've seen here from the vegetation that's been cut has been, before this vegetation was cut, within these last 4 years that I've been calling in for these investigations, I would get so many calls that the power is out, because the wind was slightly blow and this vegetation was just taking over our lines. And now, Public Utilities, SWEPCO has partnered up with the forestry management, and really making a big difference. Next slide, please. And I'm also proud to say that, what do we do next? The now, the next, and in the future. And we talked about that in our meeting about the resiliency. We're going to have a plan to continue to move forward. And so that plan, we're going to strive to continue to make sure they work safe and come back periodically and get these limbs cut and keep everything trimmed up. Next slide, please. For the Forestry Commission, for what they're doing, it goes above and beyond, because usually when it rains, I'm getting calls. I have not received not one call, even with these storms. Let me just magnify this for you. On the average, when it rains, I may get 15, 20 calls a night because the power's out. And then I have to call and put in another investigation, and I'm constantly telling the constituents, we got it out there, but now SWEPCO and has teamed up, and they got a plan in place, and they're making it happen. Next slide, please. Here here on this slide right here, we got an opportunity to talk about some of the reasons some of the areas was going out more than others, the circuits. For example, in my ward, that circuit may be over on the Texas side because of the problems they're having, but my ward is out because, how the circuits are tied into each other. So we got that breakdown to understand what's the cause and effect for some of the areas that are out more than others, what they call them 3P, they frequent outages. Next slide, please. And so what they've done here, they've contracted with some local affiliates here, and those local affiliates, like Mr. Lewis Tree Service Assisting, has greatly improved the quality of life, because a lot of relatives, citizens that call me, because their medical condition, the power is out, and that's very concerning. And now to witness how effective it's been for them to go out there and trim these trees and then put a plan in place is outstanding. Next slide, please. And what we talked about in that meeting is this going to be just a one-time thing? And they assured us that the maintenance plan is going to be intact. Now, there are some reactionary events that they may have to pull off and go take care of another problem. But the plan is to continue to provide maintenance on all our service lines within our wards, not just Ward 4. They only started with my ward because I've been putting in investigations since 2021, because, it was just very frequent. But as they're clearing out of Ward 4 right now, they're moving into other wards, clearing Ward 3, some of the others, Ward 5, some of the others, and they're not finished. And the great thing about this is the problem we have in the past was when we wasn't partnered with the forestry. A unit would come in out of town, they would cut the limbs and they will just leave them there. But not with this affiliate right here. After they cut them, they come back and pick them up. Next slide, please. That's just some of the alleyways that they've cleared. Next slide, please. Yeah, because people couldn't get down there, down the alleys, and power is always off. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So the tree trimming, the reason that, we're encouraged to give our affiliates a call, we have Miss Lisa Thompson. She's our liaison when we need this to happen. And she have an entire team. And so we give her a call, and she decentralized her authority to the individuals that need to go out and make this happen, because what we don't want to have happen is local residents taking it in their own hands and trying to cut them trees themselves, or not trying to hire professionals to do it. So now that we have teams in place through Ms. Thompson's team and efforts, the better quality of life and less hazards that, we'll get a chance to experience. Next slide, please. As you see, this is some of the teammates that's out there making it happen. And I just can't express to you enough about the job well done that they've done to clear these lines, and they still clearing more lines. And it's giving everyone a better quality of life. So when you see these workers and affiliates out there, tell them hi. Tell them, hey, you're doing a good job, because they really are. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, because I'm not getting 10, 15 calls every other day. And that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. And so I appreciate what they're doing. Next slide, please. If you have any questions, I have my number, And if you have some areas that, that need some attention, again, Director Hollybush is on the public utilities, Director Jules on the public utilities, and just feel free to, we're on the website, just give us a call, and if you want to make the call to the public utilities, we'll make the call for you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Anyone else? Tyler, do you have anything to add to your report yourself?
Real quick, yes, I do have an update. Director Roberts, thank you for bringing some attention to the sirens. I appreciate that. I did want to speak about HyperReach real quick. I signed up myself last week. I noticed I wasn't getting any notifications. I dove into it some more. When this was originally presented to us, we were informed that it does everything that Code Red does plus more. But as I dove into it more, it is only going to send a notification for a tornado warning or winter weather. So it's not sending notifications for severe weather or flash floods or anything like that. So I'm going to do some work on that, find out if it's supposed to and it's just not, or if that wasn't in our contract or what. But I'll dive into that some more. I'm also looking into a mass text notification system. The new website company we're going with, Revise, they actually offer something like that, but it would enable us to send, one thing I've struggled with is getting information out to everyone. You know, a lot of people use Facebook or social media, but not everyone does nowadays. Everyone has a cell phone. I'd really love the ability to be able to send out a mass text notification for important things that we really need to get out to the public. So we're looking into that. What Revise offers looks to be quite expensive. I think that we can get something much cheaper. What they offer also is bundled with a lot of other things. So I don't think that's the wisest choice for us, but I'll keep y'all updated on that. Currently, we do have 2 sirens out. Now, the sirens were never set off this weekend because National Weather Service never issued a tornado warning. All the witnesses say that it was a tornado. The damage looks like it was a tornado, but National Weather Service is saying it was not. So whether it was or wasn't, there was a danger there. But we do have the Cooper Tire siren out and the Union siren out. But I will get with Chief. That one supposedly is not out. But we will find out Wednesday because we're going to do some testing Wednesday. We'll find out everything.
Are you going to have somebody at each location?
Yes, we will. We will be testing every single siren when we know exactly which ones are out, which ones are working. And we'll get it taken care of.
Mayor, I have one last thing. I just want to bring up about the A&P. I've heard someone make comments here twice tonight. Just to let you know, on the A&P Commission, because I'm on that commission as well, we are having conversations about liens and occupancy license and all that stuff, what have you. So there is conversation. There is conversation about regulation. So don't get discouraged because you're paying your taxes and no one else is paying theirs yet. Trust me, we are diligently trying to put some things in place to make everyone accountable.
Anything else? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting will be Monday, April the 21st.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer?
Yes.
Director Jewell?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Yes.
Director Roberts?
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Harris?
Yes.
Director Hollywood?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes, we're adjourned.